In a purchase agreement for an M&A transaction, the buyer will typically include post-closing indemnification obligations from the target, and these often relate to if there's been a breach of a representation or warranty from the target in the purchase agreement itself. So post-closing, the buyer realizes that there's been an alleged breach, and then at that point, they will bring a claim against the target wanting some type of monetary damages and a monetary reward for that breach. Typically, these indemnification claims by a buyer will relate to the alleged breach of representations and warranties from the seller. Therefore, from a seller's perspective, negotiating both a cap on the dollar amount of indemnification claims as well as the survival period during which the buyer can bring such a claim is critical. The target goal is typically to try to cap the indemnification obligations to the escrow amount. The target will also want to try to cap or limit the survival period to the escrow period itself. A typical escrow period will run 12 to 18 months after closing, and therefore a target will try to limit the buyer's ability to bring a claim to that 18-month period. If you're able to limit the claim period to that 18-month period, then at any point after that 18 months, the buyer is no longer permitted to bring a claim against the seller. However, buyers will typically negotiate both a higher cap from a dollar perspective as well as a longer survival period, particularly with respect to what they call fundamental reps. Fundamental representations can include representations related to capitalization, intellectual property, and tax. Sellers may often want to consider including a basket for indemnification claims as well. What this will permit is it will prevent the buyer from going after the seller for de minimis claims. In summary, indemnification obligations are a critical component of a purchase agreement and should be reviewed very carefully by the seller with their outside legal counsel, particularly due to the potential risk of post-closing claims against the seller. By reviewing them in detail and ensuring that you're limiting that risk at the time you sign the purchase agreement, you will hopefully significantly reduce the likelihood of a claim by the buyer post-closing.